Hi! Starting from this lesson and up to lesson 15, I will show you how to build and develop the Users Manager page and the Edit User page. So we will start by creating a new table, which is a grid view indeed, which will hold all the users registered on our website. Then we will add the filter by facility, which through we can filter the table by a certain role. Then we will see how to add the search by facility. You can start by typing a username, and the autocomplete list will show you all the users that matching this name. Then we will add the facility of sending an email by clicking on the user's email. So you can send him an email with a subject and a formatted body. So let's go ahead and start. If we open the Users Manager we have created on the previous lesson, the first thing to do is writing some style classes in order to help us styling our page. Instead, I will copy those styles from Notepad and paste them here inside the contents tag. Let's also make a reference for the font awesome, because we are going to need it, and the bootstrap. Actually, it's not necessary to make a reference for the bootstrap because the bootstrap is installed all over the application, but I put it here in order to assist me with the IntelliSense. So let's now create a new div, and I will call this div users. So this div will take this style. So let's add a new grid view inside it, and let's go to the design, because here I will easily create a new data source attached with that table. So I will name this data source SQL grid view users. So this SQL is for the grid view. Default connection, then I usually prefer to select that option as I want to type the SQL command by myself. So let's pick now which fields will be included. Phone number, the first name, the last name, I don't need the username, and the picture. I think this is all what we want, and let's click on OK. Let's also write the delete statement. So the delete statement will be also on the ASP NET users, and all we have to do here is to write delete from ASP NET user where ID equals at ID. So let's press OK, and let's click on next, and let's test the query. OK. So let's click on finish. Okay, now let's edit the columns here. I will click on edit columns. I don't want the ID column, however I have included it from the beginning inside the SQL data source, as I will use it indirectly with one or more fields from the table. The first name, the last name field is not necessary, as I will combine it with the first name as the username field. Let's add here a command field, which is the delete, and make it the first one. So delete the first one, first name is the second one, email, the picture is the second one, I think, email confirmed, phone number, and then the last field is the roles. So I'm going to add here a template field, a new template field, and I will give it the header text roles. And actually I will change each controller here to a template field. So let's convert this one to template field, this one as well. This one is a user name and will be changed to a template field. The email as well, the email confirmed. The phone number I will leave it as it is. We will not make any modification here on this field. and let's press the OK button. Now this is how the user grid will appear like. Let's save all and let's go to our browser and refresh it. Okay, this is how the table will appear like. Actually, it's not very appealing. The delete button has to be redesigned to look like a trash basket, and the picture has to be an image, and the username here has to be the first name followed by the last name, and we have also to modify the email confirmed. Let's see how to do that. Let's go to the code behind page, and let's start with the first one, with the first field here, which is the delete. Now I will put here a span, and I will give it the class equals fa font awesome trash. Okay, so let's save all and refresh our page. This is how it will look like. However, if you click on the trash button, you will delete this user immediately. We need to display a confirmation message to the admin in order to make sure that he wants really to delete this user. So in order to do that, I will go here and type on client click. So the on client click will be fired before the on click action. So on client click, I will type here a JavaScript code, which is if brackets and then confirm brackets between quotations the message. Are you sure that you want to delete that user? Question mark. If that equals false, then return false. Return false means that the button click will be cancelled. So if the user click on cancel, it will return false, which means that it will not proceed with the delete action. So let's now save all and let's refresh our browser here. So if I click here, the message will appear. If I click on cancel, nothing will happen. However, if I click here again and I click on OK, the user will be completely deleted. Okay, let's see the picture field. For the picture field, I will delete the edit item template, and for the picture, instead of label, I will put ASP image. So the image doesn't have a closing tag, and run ad server. Okay, there is no text here. The image URL will be equal to eval of picture. Bind is useless here, so ID is not important, and that's all. But we have to limit the image size to 50 pixels, so the height will be equal to 50. And I believe you should never limit both width and height dimensions for the same image, as this will result most of the time in image distortion in case the picture's aspect ratio is different than the width to height aspect ratio you have just determined. So it's a good habit to limit only one dimension and let the image expand or shrink freely on the other one. So let's save all and let's refresh our page. Okay, cool. Now let's modify the username. So here again we don't need the edit template, we just need the item template. Here I will type eval of first name, and I will type an ampersand, space in the middle, and then eval of the last name. Okay, let's save all. Let's refresh our page. Okay, however, I don't need the username to be just a text. I want it to appear like a hyperlink, which should redirect us to the edit user page through a URL has the user ID included inside it in the form of a query string. Let's here change the label to a hyperlink. So it's basically a hyperlink. With that text it's okay, but with a navigate URL, don't need this ID. With a navigate URL equals eval of the ID, which is the user ID, and this is the reason of why we have included the ID in the SQL data source before. The second parameter here is an optional parameter, which is the format the ID will be included inside. So the format is tilde account folder slash edit user dot aspx question mark ID equals that one. The first parameter will be typed as 0 between brackets. So that's the eval, and let's close this one. Okay, let's save all. Let's go here, let's refresh. Okay, let's click here. This will redirect us to that page edit user with a query string of the user's ID. In video number 18 of that series, I will describe how to send an email through the emails field. And regarding the email confirmed, I think it's appearing in a very non-professional way. So let's go ahead and stylize it. Let's go here and delete the checkbox. And let's type a new controller here. But let's first scroll down to the styles. So as you can see here, I have defined two classes. One is true and the other is false. Both of them have a common style regarding the shape, whereas each one of them has a distinct style regarding the color. Now let's see how each class is gonna be automatically assigned to the span element I'm about to create according to the user's email confirmed status. This is a span element. Then inside the span, the class name will be equal to the user's email confirmed status. However, we have to take care as the returned email confirmed status will be in capital T for the true and in capital F for the false, which will make them different than the specified class names. So we have to type here toString dot toString dot toLower. This will set the true or false to a lowercase. And inside the span, I will write the same thing here. I will not make it too lower because I want it to appear with a capital T and capital F. I have to close the eval. Let's save all and let's refresh. Okay, now I don't want it to appear like true or false. I want it to appear like yes or no. So let's go back here and let's type a conditional eval here. So instead of typing eval email confirmed, I will type the following: if eval email confirmed equals true, then return yes, else return no. So let's save all. Okay, here we go. Yes and no. Okay. Now let's make these two icons here act like a button. So if you click on yes, this will switch the user from being confirmed to being unconfirmed and vice versa. So let's see how to do that. In order to do that, we have to create a link button. So a link button is a hybrid between a button and the hyperlink. So it acts like a button and appear like a hyperlink. So ASP link button run at equals server, and the class will be written here. So this is a CSS class. Okay, Let's save all and let's test this. Now let's add a function to this button. In order to add a function to this button, I will have to add two things. First, the command name, and I could type anything here. Let's type, for example, switch email confirm, but I have to remember what I have to just type. And the command argument, guess what? The user's ID. So eval of ID. Okay, if you go to the code behind page by pressing F7 and go to the grid view one, actually let's rename this one GVW users, and let's go to the code behind page GVW users and the row command. So any row command happened on the grid view will be handled on the code behind page here. So inside this action, I will type if e.command name, remember the command name we have given to this button, if e.command name equals switch email confirmed, then type your code here. We have first to import .ASP.NET.identity and import also the Microsoft.ASP.NET.identity.Owen. Okay, so if the e.command name equals switch email confirmed, then dem user ID equals e.command argument. So as string equals e.command argument. Let's now define a new variable called manager equals context dot get Owen context dot get users manager of application user manager. Okay, so we will define our user as dem my user equals manager dot find by ID. Which one? The user ID. So if my user dot which property, the email confirmed equals true, then switch it to false. My user dot email confirmed equal false, else my user dot email confirmed equals true. Okay, in order to save this to the database, we have to write very important sentence: manager dot update my user. Okay, and let's data bind our GVW user in order to update the changes. Okay, let's save all. Let's rebuild our project. Let's go ahead and refresh our page. Now the username Muhammad Isam has its email not confirmed. Let's see if we click on no. It has been switched to yes. And actually, if we refresh the page now, we will see this text turn to white instead of red. Okay, let's do the vice versa in order to make sure. Okay, so now we can switch the email confirmed on or off. However, let's style this button in order to be centered inside the table cell. Let's go to our page here and wrap the link button inside a div element with a style equals x-align equals center, and that's all. Let's refresh our page, and that's it. Now let's see how to put the roles of each user on this field. Before we add this to the grid view, let's add it outside the grid view first, in order to be able to test it separately. Below the table, I will add a new repeater. And the repeater will take its data from a new SQL data source. I will give it the name of SQL repeater user roles. Okay. Specify a custom query builder, and inside the query builder I will just need two tables. The first one is the ASP NET roles, and the other one is the ASP NET user roles. Let's close, and I just need one field to be displayed inside the repeater and one other field for the condition. So this field will not be for the output, it's only for filtering. So this field should be equal to the parameter user ID. And it's not necessary to give the parameter the same name as the field. However, I'm doing that in order not to get lost. So let's click on OK. Let's click on Next. If I test the query without giving any value for that parameter user ID, it will give me nothing. However, if I paste here the user ID of 101 Designs Manager, who is the admin, and we all know that the 100 Designs Manager is involved in two roles, the admin and the staff. So if I press OK now, as expected, it resulted in two records. And let's go to the repeater now and type item template, display the field name, which is the role's name. So if we click on Save All and refresh our page here, the repeater is still empty. Why? Because up till that moment we didn't give the parameter user ID any value. When I tested the query, I have given it a value, but here you should give it a value, so I will give it a default value of the same user ID. So if the SQL data source finds the user ID parameter empty, it will give it this value. Let's save all, and let's go here, refresh our page. Okay, now let's add a comma here in the middle. So I will go here and use the separator template, which will be simply a comma. Let's refresh our browser, and here we go. However, let's display those roles list in a more professional way. So instead of the comma, I will put them inside the span with a class equals the bootstrap badge. Okay. So let's save all. Let's refresh our page here. Okay, I think this is more professional. So let's now move the repeater inside the grid view along with its SQL. There is no need for this anymore, because as I told you, I'm going to feed the SQL data source with the user ID at the runtime. So let's cut the repeater and the SQL data source, and I will add an item template and paste the repeater and the SQL data source inside. Press Ctrl K plus Ctrl D to reformat the text on the page. So inside the roles there is an item template, the item template is holding both the repeater and its SQL data source. Okay, now let's see how to feed this SQL data source during the runtime. If we save all first and let's refresh our page here, we will find that the roles column still empty. Why? Because each SQL data source inside a record still didn't get a value for the user ID parameter. So let's go to the code behind page, then select the GVW users, row data bound, event, and then I will test first whether the row that I am inside at the runtime is a data row or a header row or a footer row. So let's say if e.row type equals data control row type dot data row, then do the following: dem SQL repeater user roles as SQL data source equals e.row.find control, because remember, inside each row there is an SQL data source called SQL repeater roles. Okay, so I will paste this one here, then I will type SQL repeater user roles dot select parameters. Which parameter? Remember that we have a parameter here called user ID, this one here, dot default value equals e dot row dot data item. Which item? The ID of the user of the grade view, because as you can see here there is another SQL data source for the grade view which has the user ID. Okay, so let's go ahead, save all, rebuild our project. Let's refresh our page. Now it works. So the roles is admin and stuff, and this one has no roles at all. Okay, however, it seems to me that this table is not very appealing. So let's add some bootstrap styles to the grade view. As you know, the grade view is rendered to a table. So let's add here some bootstrap classes. So CSS class equals table responsive, table hover, and table bordered. Okay, let's save all. Let's refresh our page. Now it looks too much better than the beginning, and moreover, when you resize your browser, it will be responsive. That's all for our tutorial. However, I want to show you a good alternative way in reading and editing the user's profile. So let's go ahead and comment out all of this code, and let's type it with a different way. So instead of defining a new manager, I will define something called DB application DB context. Why? Because I'm gonna write the same function here but with the link language. So let's dem my user equals, we can type from between brackets first, from you in db dot users where u dot user ID, dot id equals user id, select u dot single. Okay, that will bring my user. So let's now say if my user dot email confirmed equals true, then my user dot email confirmed equal false, else my user dot email confirmed equals true. Okay, then in order to save this to the database, all we have to do is db dot save changes. That's all, and it will give you the same function. Save all, rebuild our project, and I think this way is more simpler than this way, as it doesn't demand to import all of those things here. So if you right click, rebuild again, and let's test this out in the browser. Okay, refresh. There is one thing I have missed here, is to data bind. Rebuild again. Now let's go to our browser, refresh the page. Okay, let's click on the email confirmed now, and we have a little error here. Yes, I got it. It's something very trivial. I forgot to type new. Let's refresh. Okay, let's click on the yes button. Now it switched to no. There is another way to do it. Instead of writing all of this long line, I will comment this out and I will write it in a simpler way using the lambda expression. So my user equals db dot users dot single function m, where m dot id equals user id. That's all. This is a lambda expression. In C#, it will be written as my user equals db dot users dot single, where m dot id equals user id. And this is how it should be written using the C# language. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, please press like.